Today we're going to take just a fun look at 4 box-lock double rifles, and all of these rifles were manufactured before the Second World War. So the most recent manufacture is a Wilkinson of 1925. So everything was made before 1925, and just for the sake of having space on the table, I've decided to split them by kind of time period of manufacture. So the first two we're going to look at were made between 1904 and 1908, and then there is a whole just a little more than a decade between them, and then the other two were made in 1924, and the final one in that period between 1922 and 1925. And we'll take a good look at each individual rifle. We'll end up with all 4 rifles on the table just to look at some similarities and some differences. But I'll open these cases and we'll start. So the case closest to the bottom of your picture is a leather and brass corner case, which contains a W.J. Jeffrey in 400 Jeffrey or 450 400 3-inch. The one behind it in the slightly lighter tan case is a very nice Daniel Fraser, and I'll open the cases and we'll take a closer look at them. Now firstly, if we take a look at the W.J. Jeffrey, this specific rifle was manufactured in 1908 according to the Jeffrey ledgers. It definitely was never altered. It is a 450 400 3-inch, as I said, with 24-inch barrels. And again, you know, if you look at just how this rifle fits the case, you know, the case has been built around the rifle, and it fits really snugly in there. It contains on the left here an extra key and a little deal here for extra front sights and extra firing pins. Oil bottle is there, perfectly set up, cleaning rods, and there's a sling in there. And then if we move to the other side, here's just a 450 400 loaded bullet for reference. On this side we have all of the cleaning jags and brushes from Kainach. Now this rifle shot a rimmed cartridge, so it is a non-ejector extractor type rifle, so it'll just pull the cases out about that much, about 1/4 of an inch, and then you have to tilt the rifle to throw out your empty brass. But a very effective double rifle for Africa. You'll see that this rifle does not have a cheek piece. It is just plain stock, but wood quality impeccable. And we'll look at the rifles in a little more detail, but one thing I just want to pull your attention to is if you look at this box lock, it was cut to have a little oval of wood protruding into it. And this is something that I see in these older guns before 1920. People were creative in making the rifle unique and maybe make it look a little different from just the plain old box lock. Fraser is in superb condition. However, this rifle was definitely altered, and going back and talking to some prior owners, there's a couple of things that happened to this rifle. So this rifle was built in 1904 to 1909. From the Daniel Fraser records I could find, there's just the serial number fits that window. But this rifle started life off as a 400 360 express rifle, and was, according to the prior owner, sent to Rigby and was altered. So Rigby did 2 things. Number one is they rechambered this rifle to actually fire the 9.3 by 7.4 rimmed cartridge, and also Rigby attached the claw bases on the top rib there to actually accommodate a scope in this rifle. Now again, the 9.3 by 7.4 cartridge that it shoots is a rimmed cartridge, And this rifle is actually an ejector rifle, and it'll blow those cases clear once you have fired this rifle. Now you can see on this case that this rifle actually has a lot more stuff in the case. So you can see that there are a couple of turn screws that came with this rifle that fits the screws on the rifle. So there's one in here, there's another one back in here, and then it actually has all the cleaning equipment. This is the handle of the cleaning rod. The rod lives underneath the barrel, and then on the insides here's all the brush and jag, and on that side there's a bunch of cleaning cloths. The very interesting thing is they had this circular deal for their oil bottle just below the rifle. Here's the space for the scope that came with the rifle originally, and I'll show you once we take a look at the rifles in detail. I actually put a Leupold scope on this, and it shoots brilliantly. Again, here's the little deal with a spare set of strikers. So everything was really put together. In this case, you closed your case, traveled with it, and away you went. But you'll see that this rifle, when we put them together and compare the rifles, I would say this is the highest quality built rifle. The wood is just unbelievable on this rifle, and it actually has a cheek piece. This rifle has the opposite way from the Jeffrey. So where the Jeffrey had the box lock cut in, the Fraser actually has the metal protruding, almost like a, I'm going to say like a quarter side lock protruding into the wood. But we'll put them together and have a quick look. So these are the older guns, which in my opinion had more money, more time, and really a lot more detail spent on them. You'll see that these are just really a sight to behold. Right, so now we're going to change gears, and World War I is behind us. World War II is ahead of us, and both of these rifles were built in that period, 1924, 1925. The one on the light case in front of us at the bottom is a Wesley Richards, which was built in 1924. It is actually the 425 Wesley Richards rebaited rim rifle cartridge, but in a double rifle configuration. There was only 34 of these rifles built in that period on an Anson and Dealey fixed lock, and both of these rifles have 26-inch barrels, and we'll take a look at them. But again, you can already start seeing some of the economic impacts. These are not those really nice leather cases. These are canvas cases. The one in the back, I have to admit, is a modern canvas case. It is affordable, and I could not find an original Wilkinson case. The rifle in the back is a Wilkinson & Son 470 Nitro Express, and I'll open the boxes and we can have a quick look at the configurations, and then we'll put these rifles together and really compare them. Now, this case was called the light canvas case by Wesley Richards, but it contains most everything you'll need for the rifle. You can see very snug fit with the rifle. The barrels, a nice cut in there for the doll's head, turn screws, oil bottle, velvet cloth. Everything you need to clean the rifle is in there. Space for a couple bullets. And as I said, this is the 425 Wesley Richards, but it shoots a rebaited rim, so we'll spend a little bit of time. I'll show you the mechanism that Wesley came up with to catch this rebaited rim, because this is an ejector rifle, and this rifle was actually built in response to the ban on the 450 Nitro Express. So Wesley already had the 425 Wesley Richards cartridge. Putting it into a double rifle configuration immediately gave Africa and India an option of having a double rifle not in a 450 caliber or 458 caliber. And yeah, I think it's a very interesting piece of history. As I said, only 34 of these rifles were built. You can see very high quality wood on the stock. Again, no cheek piece, but again, we'll put these rifles together and have a decent look at them. The last rifle we're going to take a look at is a James Wilkinson and Son boxlock in 470 Nitro Express. Now, the guys from James Wilkinson did not build these from scratch. They would buy either a barrel action and the stock from the trade, and they would just finish these rifles. But again, you'll see that this rifle has a couple of really unique features which makes it a really nice rifle. It fits me very well, and I was fortunate enough to hunt a buffalo with it in the Zambezi Valley. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll find this rifle a really in detail discussion on it, and also the buffalo deal. This is a non-ejector rifle. It is a 470 Nitro Express. Now again, the 470 Nitro was also built in response by Joseph Lang when the 450 was banned in Africa and in India. So a very good solid caliber, but as I said, this is a non-ejector. It's a non-ejector, it's a extractor type rifle. So again, it will push out your cases a little bit, and you've got to throw them out and reload. And we'll put it together and have a look. Now, in looking at these rifles, we'll keep the sequence the exact same as we did in looking at the cases. So we'll start on the left here. We have the Daniel Fraser, W.J. Jeffrey, and these were all done before 1910. Then on this side we have the Wesley Richards and the James Wilkinson in 470 on that end. So I think first and foremost, let's just look at wood quality. I think I'll just zoom in a little bit, and you know, we can take a look at that. But I do believe that this Daniel Fraser has some of the best wood for grain and just quality. Then the Jeffrey is not bad at all. You can see a little bit more money maybe went into the Wesley, and then finally the Wilkinson also has very nice grain and contrast. Now, something you'll see is if we look at the buttstock right at the end, the Daniel Fraser has a horn butt plate. So this is buffalo horn that was carved. I'm going to pick it up, and maybe you can see a little better there. Let me just do that. And you can see that you know, it's got checkering, so it doesn't slip. But very well done, very well put together, very tasteful. The Jeffrey has a silver spad, just very practical. The Wesley Richards actually has India rubber. So this is India rubber that was put in. It actually has the Wesley Richards logo on the back. And again, it is checkered so it doesn't slip. And then finally, the James Wilkinson again has just a rubber silver spad on the back. Again, I'm going to flip them over, and then we can have a quick look on the other side of the stocks. Now, as I said in the beginning, you know, I think the Daniel Fraser is by far the highest grade rifle, so it's the only one with a cheek piece. The others have no cheek pieces, and I don't miss it, so I don't care very much for the cheek piece. Something that you also note, and I'll turn them a little bit so you can see a little better. But all of these have sling attachments, and you'll see that the three bigger bore rifles have huge attachments, so that's where you just thread those leather thongs through. It's a very quiet sling. I don't ever put a sling on these, but if I pick up the Daniel Fraser, you can see that the if you look at this, the actual piece where the sling goes in there is actually carved into the stock. So again, the amount of detail that was put into this is unbelievable. Now, all three of these rifles have area where you can put your initials on. This one has initials on. It's CEH, so I don't know who had this Daniel Fraser before. The others are all vacant still. so nothing written up in there. Well, we'll turn them on their backs and just have a quick look at the grip caps and take it from there. I'm going to just focus in on the grip caps so that we just see a little more detail there, and then we'll go from there to the actual actions, bottoms of the actions. So first and foremost, the Daniel Fraser on this end, it has again a horn grip cap. So does the Jeffrey. The Jeffrey has a horn grip cap. The Wesley Richards has the same India rubber as it has on the back as a grip cap, and the James Wilkinson actually has a steel grip cap. I'm going to move the camera around and we'll take a look at the bottoms of the actions. Now again, looking at the bottoms of these actions, you can see the Daniel Fraser, very fine, very fine, intricate engraving on that bottom plate. The Jeffrey actually doesn't take any step back from that. Fantastic engraving on that. The Wesley is a little more bare, so I think that was a money saving or a cost saving exercise. And the James Wilkinson, you can see again, it's got full coverage, so again a little more money spent, more time spent, and yeah, but I mean all of them very tastefully done and very well done. When we look at the fore-end releases, we're fortunate in that we have three different examples in front of us here. So you'll see that the early rifles, so the Daniel Fraser and the Jeffrey, both have the Anson and Dealey push rod release. So you just push the peg on the end there and you can actually remove your fore-end. So it's a very simple deal. It has a push rod with a spring in it, and when you push it in the front, it actuates this deal, which releases your push rod. Very simple to put back. You just press it and it'll click back in. So this was very typical of that era, Anson and Dealey push rod. The Wesley Richards has a clip that actually works on a pivot, so this one you pull out like that and it'll release. The James Wilkinson on the other end has the most, I'm going to say the most intricate one, which I know that Rigby used it for a while, or for a long while, and I think they still use it today on their high-end rifles because it is deemed to be one of the most secure deals. So this one actually is a swing out arm. So you take it, it has a little ball that locks it in there, so I'll unlock it. You see there's the ball that locks it in. So once you've locked it in, unless you, and it's tough to go in there, so unless you undo that thing willfully, it won't slip out. So once you undo that, it rotates, and you'll see the front end will start lifting there as you rotate it. So there it lifts. Now it'll come out, and if you look at the back, it's completely vacant, and as you turn it up top, there is a piece that's gonna go right underneath that thing and lock it in very securely and very tightly. So we'll just put that back, and again, if you pull it in, it'll pull it down and then lock it in there. Very secure. I've never had an issue with any of these three, but again, there are differences in some of these rifles. Well, next we're going to take a look at the sides of the box lock actions, and then the tops. Now, for the purpose of looking at the sides of the actions, I think it's worth the effort on taking them individually. So again, we'll start with the Daniel Fraser, and a couple of things. You can see that it's not a straight box lock. It has this protrusion into the wood. But I want to show you the intricacy of the carvings around the fences here. I mean, that is just something that's absolutely amazingly well done, and the amount of detail that's gone in there is just astonishing. It is an action that has side clips, so you'll see it has side clips here, and very well done and well put together. If we move slightly north and we go look at the Jeffrey, you'll see the same. A lot of effort has gone into the Jeffrey engraving, and again, even on the fences, it looks really well done. And right up top as well, you can see very nice engraving. It's not as elaborate, but very, very well done, and it stood the test of time on this gun. If we take a step up further north and we go to the Wesley Richards, the Wesley Richards now has a straight walled or a straight back on the box lock. It is color case hardened, and there is a engraving of a tiger there, and the name's Wesley Richards and Co. engraved at the bottom there. This is not a side clip action, and the same holds true on top of this. There's some slight engraving, very subtly done, and I think tastefully, really. I prefer this to not have too much on it. If we then finally move over to the Wilkinson, again, a lot of scroll engraving. Again, this rifle has side clips, so very well put together. It has the third bite, and you know, we're gonna take a look at the tops of these rifles and have a quick look at what the mechanics look like on top of these rifles. So we'll start at the back and kind of work it from the safety forward. You can see these, the Daniel Fraser actually has the bolted safety. If you want to go off safe, you first have to remove that little deal there, then you can move it off safe. It has a little red deal in there that tells you it's off safe. Safe is obviously covered up. But this was done on game guns in the Highlands of Scotland to prevent you from inadvertently moving it off safe and shooting the game guide. So this is a very safe gun. I have no problem with that. But this is not something that I would like to have on a dangerous game rifle. I do believe that it may just slip in there, and when you need to take that thing off safe, there's absolutely no way in hell you're going to move this thing without moving that little lever out there. So if that thing is inadvertently set like that and you need to shoot an incoming buffalo or something, you're in a predicament. The Jeffrey, very easy to use safety mechanism. Again, safe inlaid in gold there, but very quick and easy to move off safe, on safe. The Wesley Richards has the typical Beetle type. It has the knob on the front. So again, you move it on safe and slide it off safe. The same with the Wilkinson. It looks very typical to the Jeffrey action here. Move it off safe. You can very clearly see, or put it on safe. You see the safeties there. Move it off safe. Safety disappears. Okay. Now, if we look at the opening mechanism of each one, very simple lever actuated deal to open up. The only exception is the Wesley Richards that has the actual pivoting mechanism to release that dull C head and open. You'll see that all three of these actions actually has a third bite. So we're going to just move the camera a little bit and focus in just a wee bit more, and then we can talk about the third bites. So you can see that this small section from the rib protrudes into the action, and it has a plate that locks in there. Jeffrey had this very circular deal, which was very typical of Jeffrey, and so you can if I show you only that little bit, if it's round like that, you have a fairly high chance that that's going to be a Jeffrey rifle. Wesley Richards has the Type C doll's head. Again, very, very characteristic. Again, it takes the top rib, locks it in there. And the same on this Wilkinson. It has a very sturdy mechanism to lock it in there. Now, on this specific deal, I think you can very clearly see the side clips here that extends into the barrel on both of the Wilkinson and on the Daniel Fraser. The Daniel Fraser, if you look at the carving on these fences, it almost looks like it's got double side clips that hug each other. I mean, the amount of time and effort spent on this rifle is just absolutely phenomenal. Next we're going to take a look at aiming mechanism, and then we'll take it from there. Now, typical of the era, you have the sights mounted on a quarter rib, which runs from the action to about a quarter into the barrel. The only one that has a full rib here is the Daniel Fraser, and the Daniel Fraser has one standing, two folding blades, and then the engraving of who the maker is right in front of that. You can also see the aftermarket claw mount that's set up here. Here's the scope that fits that, and a very nice feature is they also engraved the serial number on the scope rings, which was a typical deal of the era. So if you look at that scope, it has the Daniel Fraser, the serial number on the front, and then it has the caliber on the rear scope mounts. Very simple. You just hook the rear ones in and then press the front ones down, and it locks in sturdy there, and you've got a scope on this double rifle. Very, very well put together and well constructed deal. And we'll just take a look at the others for comparison. The Jeffrey, again, one standing, and it goes out all the way to 500 yards, so it has a 200, 300, 400, 500 yard blade, which is immense to me, thinking that people would shoot that far with double rifle. The Wesley Richards, not very different. It has a standing blade, and then 200, 300, 400, 500, and then you know, on the 470, one standing blade, and we've got 200, 300, and 400. Again, super optimistic on range of these rifles, but you know, they still I would say up to 100 yards, these rifles are really good. The 9.3x7.4 on this Fraser with the scope gives you a lot more flexibility. Now, as a final, just looking at the ejector side, so this is a non-ejector, so you'll see that it is a solid piece of steel at the bottom there. It catches the rim of the rifle bullet, and or the case rather, and it'll just push it out that amount. So that is the only amount that thing will push it out, and then you have to tilt it to throw them out. So this is a extractor type rifle, not ejector type rifle. Now, with regards to the Wesley Richards ejector type rifle, I actually am going to turn it this way so that you can see what's going on here. So if you'll look at this, there's two of them. It's split in the middle, so there's two ejectors there, and this ejector actually has a little metal blade in there that will rise, and that blade is going to catch the rebated rim, and then it pulls the rebated rim out. So a very intricate little mechanism there. Again, on this side, you can see there's the blade up, and if I press it down, the blade's gone. So again, it'll eject those two cases. If we look at the front ends of these rifles, we'll start with the Daniel Fraser again. The Daniel Fraser actually has opportunity for you to put a flip-up night sight in there. The original in the box has it. I had to put a little bit of an elevated deal in the front just to regulate it properly for the loads I use. But it's one screw on the front here that you take out, and you can put the original sights back in. The other three, the sights are very sturdy, very strong metal. You're not going to ding that, and if you ding it, it has a very long blade on each of those rifles, on each of those deals. So I think you can just bend it or whatever, and you should be able to shoot close up with it. but very sturdy. I've never had a front sight on any of these rifles give me any issue whatsoever. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna kind of lay them next to each other again and show you a full picture, and then we'll conclude the video. Well, every now and then I still get the question, why would you buy these really old guns? I mean, if we look at these two rifles at the bottom, you know, we're talking 1904, maybe 1906, 1908 manufacture. You know, those rifles are more than 100 years old. Then if we look at the two up top, 1924, 1925 manufacture, they're getting up there. You know, in less than 5 years they'll be 100 years old. And the answer is very simple. These boxlock rifles are superior in simplicity, so they don't have a lot of stuff that can go wrong. If you take them to a competent gunsmith, they can be serviced very easily. They are very reliable. They really are reliable. As I said, I've taken that Wilkinson to Africa. I've hunted a buffalo and a crocodile with it. And, you know, I'll take any of these guns. Once you've reloaded for it and regulated it and you've practiced with it, they are very, very solid pieces, and they shoot well. And I think on top of that, they are decent investments. You know, many of these makers do not exist today anymore. Daniel Fraser doesn't exist anymore, so a good Daniel Fraser that's been looked after is worth a little bit of money. Jeffrey doesn't exist anymore today. They are rekindling it, but it's not the same Jeffrey as it was in 1908 when this Jeffrey was made. Wesley Richards is still there, still around, but as I said, you know, this 425 is one of 36 that was made for the export market. So again, a rare rifle, the Wilkinson. You know, many of you might have remember Wilkinson sword that made the razor blades. They made really good knives. They had a really good hunting outfit that sold all kind of hunting equipment and really good rifles. And again, here we have a great example of that. So, you know, they still work. That's why I use them.